Well, I'm here today with Bill Bresser, CEO of Boys and Girls Club of Greater Cincinnati. And Bill, number one, thanks for joining me. I know you're an incredibly busy guy. We were just talking about you having a board meeting tomorrow night, so you got a lot going on. And so I really appreciate you carving out a few minutes to sit and talk to me about trauma training and the difference it's kind of made for Boys and Girls Club of Greater Cincinnati. Sure. And I know that from talking a little bit with you and some other folks that Boys and Girls Club of Greater Cincinnati was a bit ahead of the curve in implementing trauma-informed care training with your staff. So what convinced you that this was a good thing for us to take? Because you weren't hearing it from lots of other people. What convinced you, like, hey, this is a good thing for us to do?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we instituted this pre-COVID. This was, COVID exacerbated a lot of these issues. It didn't cause it. And we were a bit ahead of the curve. The reason why I decided to move forward with this was really because I was in direct service myself. So my career started actually 19 years ago with Boys and Girls Clubs as a volunteer, and I worked, as an education director and a director directly with kids. So it was kind of always in the back of my mind that this was our missing piece. We do a lot of great stuff maintaining 1 to 15 staff to member ratios, and with our structure and delivering programming and creating safe and supportive environments. But the backbone of our organization was part-time staff, many of whom are college students. And we really needed that kind of training, especially when you're going to turn those folks over. And we do. We turn them over. They become teachers and social workers. And it's a great training ground for them. So it was really twofold. One, we really needed this service, this set of knowledge to help deliver our programming for our kids. But it really helps develop our staff as well, and sharpen those tools for hopefully when they go out into the world and do some other greater things than work part-time at Boys and Girls Clubs. So it was an easy investment for us to make. And when I kind of came across back-to-back ministries and trauma-free world, that was really a no-brainer for us.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of things there which were interesting. One was a lot of your staff were part-time, college age. So for them, this was kind of on-the-job training. You saw this as a missing element of what they brought. They might have brought energy or enthusiasm or perhaps a major in social work or something that they were looking to do down the road, but this was a missing piece.
Yep. Was
there anything specific about Trauma-Free World's training that you zeroed in on that said, that's really something that we can build on?
I don't know if there was anything specific to it, because kids come to us with all kind of different issues sometimes, or challenges that they may face. But one of the interesting things about it that I didn't anticipate when we started to institute this was our staff actually benefited personally from this. It was fantastic that some of them actually had trauma in their own lives that they had to overcome, and this is maybe why I was redirecting behavior in certain ways. And it really resonated with them. It was something I didn't really anticipate and something that I'd like to explore more.
Yeah, interesting that you bring that up. I hear that, and our team hears that more and more and more, that someone will take training with service in mind. Like, okay, well, I'm going to work at Boys and Girls Club, and I need to be able to be the best I can be. And then in the midst of the training, they find or uncover or discover, wow, there's parts of what I'm doing that I didn't recognize that are coming out of training in my own life.
Right.
Yeah, amazing.
Yep.
So you also made one other distinction there. You talked about making an investment.
Yeah.
And as a decision maker, you have a lot of budget constraints. You have a lot of budget pressures. At some point, you decided we're going to put our money where our mouth is. Walk me through a little bit about how you decided this was worth making that investment.
Sure. Well, yeah, budgets are always tight, especially at nonprofits. But our budget has to align with our mission. It has to. And I don't know if there's anything that we've done in the last maybe decade or so that aligns more with our mission than investing in trauma competent care and trauma-free world. We talk a lot about building into our students academic success in life. You're never going to have, or it's very difficult to have anyway, success in the classroom or in life if you aren't addressing some of the social, emotional, and needs of our students. And we know they have them. All the research says, a lot of the kids that come to us experience trauma, unfortunately, regularly. and we didn't have the tools to necessarily meet all those needs. So our budget had to line up with our mission, and this wasn't a step away from, trying to get kids to do better in school. This was a deepening commitment to it, because you're not going to succeed in the classroom. Again, you're not going to succeed in life or in the workplace if you don't have these tools, and that's our mission, is to build these competencies in our youth.
Yeah, I love that. I know you've taken a deep dive into trauma competent care, into trauma training. And there may be lots of similarly minded organizations, other boys and girls clubs, who aren't ready to make a huge dive, but what would you say to them how would you encourage them to take even just a first step, maybe with some on-demand training from Trauma Free World, or what would you say to someone just to get them moving that direction?
Wow, that's a great question. I would honestly, I'd love to introduce them to some of our staff and our team that have benefited. But I would encourage them just to take a look across the landscape of their staff and ask themselves the honest question. I know I did. Do we really have the training necessary to onboard people the right way? I didn't, personally. So, I would just encourage, if you're interested in looking into these sorts of services and trainings for staff, to dip your toe in the water and contact someone like Back to Back Ministries here locally, that's done wonderful things for our organization, and just have that conversation. And really, for me, when we started diving into this, I didn't come to this, enlightened decision on my own. There were a lot of staff that were yelling for this too. This wasn't something. It's something certainly I knew that we needed to invest in. But when you actually went through the organization and you talked to your staff directly, said, what could we really do? So, our kids deal with a lot of stuff that we're not necessarily trained to deal with. And we'd love to learn how to redirect behavior, to build into kids, to find out positive, resonant ways to handle certain situations, and maybe even to make more informed referrals. So your staff know.
Yeah.
The folks who are in direct service, they know.
Right, they know this is something we need to get better at.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love the story about how this story has unfolded. You've mentioned Back to Back a couple of times, and they have a local ministry here in Cincinnati. Trauma Free World comes underneath Back to Back in this case and provides training through Back to Back. Boys and Girls Club is now partnered with another one of those organizations in Boys and Girls Club, partnering with Back to Back Ministries, using Trauma Free World stuff. I love how it's building a community of like-minded people in Cincinnati. Can you talk just a minute? I know we only got about a minute left. Just how you can see that as a benefit. Now there's agencies and ministries and organizations across the city that are finding a way to do this in a similar way.
Gosh, I would love to continue on that path to build into all those different agencies to use these tools, because our kids are at all those different places, right? They're at school. They don't all just go to Boys and Girls Clubs. Some of them go to rec centers. Some of them go, they play on the baseball team, or they're in the school play. I would love to see, Trauma Free World and those sorts of trainings, and the staff have that toolkit in all of the places our kids call home, basically, after school and even during school.
Yeah. Well, Bill, thanks a million for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for leading the charge here in Cincinnati in a lot of ways around trauma-informed care. So grateful for the partnership and for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.